The alleged leader of an illegal marijuana operation in Maine that involved a prosecutor and a member of law enforcement is now accused of threatening to kill those investigating him.
Lucas Sirois is one of 12 people charged in an alleged cover-up of a marijuana operation in Farmington. According to court documents, a special agent with the FBI met with a witness who had gone hunting with Sirois and says during that trip, he said, quote, "If I get wind that the case isn't going right, I am going to end everyone that put me in this position," unquote. The witness said Sirois meant he would kill a police officer and district attorney involved in investigating the charges in the indictment.
Sirois is facing several federal charges, including conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, tax evasion, and bank fraud. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the alleged drug conspiracy brought in more than $13 million between 2016 and 2020. Prosecutors say the operation distributed more than 1,000 kilograms of marijuana and 1,000 marijuana plants.